Hello and welcome to our next spiritual disciplines video, or as we called them last week, spiritual habits. Today we're going to be looking at worship. Now if you close your eyes for a second and I say the word worship, what do you think about? What do you picture? Do you see somebody on a stage with a guitar or a keyboard or singing to a microphone? Perhaps you picture a whole congregation in a building singing together beautifully. It'd be nice when we can do that again. But you see, singing songs is just one expression of worship. It's one way of worshipping. And it's a very vital one because we do it together in unity. But if you're not very good at singing, like me, maybe you feel a little bit out of place and you don't feel like you're giving your best when you're singing. Perhaps there's another way that you find you're better at expressing yourself and your love and admiration for God. Perhaps you like to write poems. Perhaps you like to draw pictures. Perhaps you like to go for a walk and just shout. You see, all of those are valid expressions of worship. But we seem so used to worship being something to do with music or singing. And we've almost put worship in this tidy little box. Well, that's what I do on a Sunday morning. We read in Isaiah 29:13, "You honor me with your lips, but your hearts are far from me." Your worship is based on human rules. It's quite a statement, isn't it? You see, all through the Bible, we see God being so concerned with the condition and the state of our heart's expression. What is our heart's desire? And that is what God is longing for. That our heart's desire is to worship Him. That we don't just do it from a sense of obedience and compulsion that we have to sing, but that it becomes an overflow of what's in our hearts. And that's why it's important to have good spiritual disciplines and habits, and that we can build into that place where it becomes just a part of our lives, a lifestyle. You see, worship is a lifestyle. It's not just about singing. In Colossians 3:23 it says, "Whatever you do, do it with your whole heart as serving the Lord." You see, everything we do is an act of worship, or at least it can be. If we make that conscious choice to say, "God, I worship you in everything I do." It could be ironing, hoovering the house, washing the car, playing sports, going to your job, whatever it might be. Everything we do can be an act of worship if we do it with our whole heart, acknowledging that God is our source and our provider, and that everything we do can glorify Him. That's quite a big challenge, isn't it? Oswald Chambers wrote a book called My Utmost for His Highest. It's a series of devotionals, really good if you can get your hands on it. But in there he writes a section on worship, and he describes worship as being the act of giving back to God the best that He's given to us. I remember I was in church some years ago and I was holding one of my sons during worship, and he said, "Dad, why have people got their hands up?" And I just read Oswald Chambers, and I said, well, this guy says that worship is giving back to God what He's given to you. And so those people have their hands up because they're saying, "God, everything I have is yours. I lift you up. I release the control and say, God, I trust you. I worship you." And it's putting God back where He deserves to be. And my son looked me square in the eyes and he said, "Dad, what are you not giving back to God? What are you holding on to? Because you don't put your hands up." Oh, that hurt a bit. And he caught me out. But he's absolutely right. You see, putting your hands up is a physical expression of my worship to God, of saying, "God, I don't care what people around me think. I'm going to lift you up." Now, some of us, that doesn't come naturally. But the heart expression, that's what it's about. Am I giving back to God and saying, "God, have the best of me, have all of me, have my life"? Romans 12:1 says, "Offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. This is your pure and proper act of worship." You see, when we offer our bodies, Paul here is talking about the wholeness, that we offer everything of who we are and say, "God, I give back to you because you are worthy." So when it comes to worship and spiritual disciplines, or the spiritual habit of worship, these are the things to remember. You have to choose to worship God in everything you do, to acknowledge that He is in His rightful place in your life, above anything. Secondly, that God is still God no matter how I'm feeling, and so he is still worthy of my praise no matter what. And finally, God cares about our heart's condition. Is your heart turned towards God? Is your heart to please God and to acknowledge him as the King? See you soon.